As the sun sets, the coffin lids rise, and the creatures of the night awake. We greet you. This is the Mourning Show.
Ah, yes. Good morning, boils and ghouls. Yes, it is time to lift those lids and climb out of those caskets, for the night has just begun.
Here at the Mourning Show, we strive to bring you the latest news. Music, product, and entertainment reviews, travel, cuisine, and interviews with the people you loathe the most.
Yes, indeed. But first, to see what the night shall bring, we go to our local lunatic, Dead McMame. So, what's the foreshadowing forecast, Dead?
Oh, Jack, it's terrible. The lunar phase for tonight, the 6th of June 2014, is a first quarter. The moon in the zodiac sign Virgo. Oh, Jack, I can only think about mooning people, but should my mind be there?
Well, you
I'll
can
just
go
be a
ahead.
lovely lady and eat the blue moon ice cream with my absinthe here.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Well,
It sounds like a terrific evening.
Well, since I'm not quite a man, not quite a woman, I'll just do a quarter moon, if that's quite all right.
Oh, that'll work. That'll work. We'll have the whole moon phases represented.
That would be a picture, wouldn't it?
That would actually be really funny. So this is the second morning show. We're very, very excited about being here. Thank you all to everyone who tuned in last week. We've had amazing response from this program, and we will want to continue hearing from you. And before we dive into this second episode, how the hell is everybody tonight?
I'm dead, Jack.
I'm just
So you're well.
drinking my life away, I guess you could say.
I'm being embalmed.
Embalmed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe it is time for us to speak of the morning news. You know,
Indeed.
society, there are so many people who it's all about them, and anyone who else out there is weird or unusual. But of course, being goths, being unusual, we as a culture, we are more the type to be inclusive. And recently, there has been a video series called Indie Alaska, which featured a self-proclaimed goth family with 2 children on the autism spectrum. Cliff and Ivy have a goth band in Anchorage, Alaska, that puts a fresh take on EBM and dark wave. To them, goth is all about inclusion and being yourself. And so, we shall take a peek into the lives of Cliff and Ivy. So, Collie, you have a group on Facebook about gothic parenting that you write to, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, so what are your cons? What are your thoughts on that video that we just played?
Well, as you were saying, that the goth is all about inclusion, and I really liked seeing that. I'm not sure if the parent had Asperger's or not, or was on the spectrum, but I liked seeing how she kind of welcomed how her children were doing. I think there was a segment of the video where the kids were in an art class, so including them in her band, as well as in kind of working as a parent out in the community compared to other parents that I've met. It just shows the vivaciousness and the positivity that people need to see more out of the community rather than making assumptions.
Yeah, and from our side of the video, both the mother and the father have disabilities, though where they have autism or not, they didn't say, but their children have autism, but the parents have disabilities, in which I myself have a learning disability. It's not a very bad one, and so it doesn't really matter much. But yes, I mean, always, as the father in that was saying, You know, we can relate to all these figures in Gothic novels like Quasimodo and like Richard III, you know, who these people, they have disabilities, but that doesn't stop them from being brilliant, great people. And the Goth community, of course, we accept people in their uniqueness. We're all beautiful snowflakes, to use probably an overused analogy. We each have our own eccentricities, our own uniqueness that makes each of us beautiful.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
And I also think, as I look beautiful on the outside, that the Goth community is a very accepting group, and it is amazing to see, especially when you go to live shows and just see how they accept everyone. And it doesn't matter what they look like on the outside, it's all about the music and the culture.
Yes,
Absolutely. I remember just a quick case in point, going to Bar Sinister years and years ago, and sitting there, somebody obviously drunk, wandered in, not to the right club. He's wearing a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, blue jeans, and everybody just invited him in, came and sat, had drinks with him. You know, no negativity, no, oh, you're a cowboy, get out of here type of thing. And that's something I really do loathe about our culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, we, you know, as Kelly mentioned, there was an art class that they were teaching their children, and of course, Goths, we seem to be like a type who we like to learn, and unlike a lot of people, and more closer to a lot of people who have learned disabilities, we're very visual. We love art, we love makeup, you know, and we love music, but we also, of course, we love books as well. And speaking of loving books and culture and learning, I believe Coley has a new story to tell us about Gothic learning.
Yes, for the past couple of months, I've been looking for like a curriculum that I could guide children to teach them more about the Goth side of the spectrum. And my friend Carrie Carolyn started a group called Dark Side University, darksideuniversityning.com, and they have been going for, I think, about the past year or so. Last year they had some history of Halloween, and for the past 2 months that I've been a member of the group, you have to be pre-approved to become a member of it, but anybody can join. We just finished classes in Horticulture 101 Gothic Gardening with Eliza Inkberry, and Carrie Carolyn's class History 103 Mary Shelley. Starting last Saturday, the 1st of June, we have been reviewing children in horror movies, and this week we discussed The Exorcist and children's play. I am partial to The Exorcist. The children's play very much scares me. As well as a new movie that's being released that is similar to Rosemary's Baby, titled The Beat Within, about a mother carrying a terrifying baby. And I will tell you more about that movie once it comes out and I have a chance to look at that.
Callie, it's very interesting that you talk about this curriculum, because I think it's very important, especially in the Goth scene, that they learn that Goth really can encompass more than just music or art. It can encompass whatever you wish it to. It really is. It amazes me.
Agreed. In the featured courses, they have everything from, like I said, we learned about horticulture, and a lot of us are starting gardens now, and she was talking about how many of the plants were either not truly black, but either tasty or can go in the garden in any way. They've got everything from history of horror TV, and you can go into the group and suggest classes that can be offered as well. So I'm really happy that she's come along up with this for many adults, and I hope to see it expand maybe for children later in the future.
Absolutely, I think so too. And as Jacques said, you know, this culture is very knowledgeable and likes to learn, especially about history and stuff. And it's really neat to see a place where you know, people who want to find out more information but have no idea where to go have a place to go. So very, very cool.
I also did this many years ago with a different situation, but I too learned that if you open yourself up to other possibilities, it's amazing what you can learn. I learned so much about horticulture when you just open your mind, and this case, my casket.
Well,
And
it helps to learn about horticulture when you're already in the ground.
well, actually, those dead flowers fall down there, and they make a big noise when they hit your casket.
I can only imagine.
Yes, I taught them with those flowers to dance. When I'm in the graveyard, Jack, those zombies, they dance on my casket.
Well, it helps keep the beat for you, so you know where you are in the program.
It sure does. But, I really like how Kelly brings up about the curriculum. I really think that's something to look into.
Absolutely. And can you give us that website again for our listeners?
Yes, 1 minute. It is http://darksideuniversity.ning.com. So if you just type that in, then it should show up in your Google taskbar, and you can apply to be a member of the class, and it usually takes 1 day or two to get you in, and you can just start participating, even though we're about 4 days into the course. It's pretty easy to catch up. When I joined, I started taking part in the classes that had already started. Some of the classes have heavy reading material, but we hope to see you there.
Absolutely. So make sure you check that out and bookmark the site. And of course, you just mentioned movies, a film, The Beat Within. And since we're on the movies subject, there's something ghostly related that I personally am very excited about. A film that was very inspirational as a little creep as I was. Is of course Ghostbusters, and this marks the 30th anniversary of the film, which is scary in itself. But as in celebration on August 29th, in 700 movie theaters in both the U.S. and Canada, they are releasing a restored, remastered version of Ghostbusters. And I think everybody here and listening would loathe to attend that. Yes, indeed. They'll also be doing a release of a 30th anniversary and a 25th anniversary Blu-ray release for both films, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, as well as a slew of action figures, a Slimer figure, all kinds of stuff. They're re-releasing the soundtrack, and you can get it on a newly printed vinyl, some new toys from Lego, Mattel. So if you are a Ghostbusters fan, which I'm sure we all are, this is definitely the summer for you. To get all the info on it, you can go to ghostbusters.com, which was just launched, I believe, today or yesterday. So brand new site. Definitely check it out.
Jack, I do have a question. Who are we going to call?
Gothbusters.
Golfbusters, yes.
Yeah,
That
Gothbusters.
was awesome, Jack.
Zombie Busters.
Or if you're on a golf course, who are you going to call? Golfbusters.
Well, now you're just repeating what I just said. So.
Well, actually, I'm showing everybody how my golf game is because I think I break every window possible when I shoot that golf club.
You are on par with Windows. I do have to say that.
Oh, definitely.
Of course, you guys know what golf is. That's, of course, golf on a full moon night, or in this case, a first quarter.
First
and
quarter.
Frisbee golf
and
is also good at night. Glow-in-the-dark Frisbee golf. Good
Well,
stuff.
while we're on the topic of golf, I was looking at La Carmina's website, and she said that there's like this glow-in-the-dark golf in Portland. It was like a pirate-themed glow-in-the-dark golf.
Jack, let's do an on-shoot there. Let's do that golf. That sounds awesome.
that I think we'll do that. I think that is in the future for the darkest hours. Yes,
I
indeed.
think so. My terrible golf glowing in the dark. Maybe I shall moon people while I do that.
And I'll
Agreed.
get that Lego Ghostbusters thing, whether it's for my brother or for myself. That will be later to be determined.
And one last movie that is coming out very soon is a film called Harbinger Down. It is a sci-fi film, kind of in the vein of Aliens or The Thing. Very, very excited about this project. This is a passion project from Alec Gillis, who is connected with Studio ADI. Now, if you don't know who Studio ADI is, Studio ADI is an effects company that did all the practical effects for Aliens, Tremors, Monster Squad, just a huge, ridiculous list of amazing things. And they got this film together starring Lance Hendrickson, who we always loathe, a terrific man indeed. And the trailer, the official trailer, hits the web Monday the 9th. That would be June 9th. So definitely check it out. Find them on Facebook, and yeah, definitely check it out if you're a sci-fi or alien fan, or even just a special effects fan. This is going to be a practical effects, no CG. So I am extremely excited about it, and I think all of you should be as well.
I think I will loathe that.
I might look into it. It sounds like something that I would greatly enjoy. I love the Alien films, so, yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. So now we have, shall we move on to the shows, I suppose?
Oh, yes. I can't wait to hear some music and see what shows are coming up and which bands are going to be playing.
Indeed, indeed. These are both scumming up in June. Yes, indeed. June 14th, this is an incredible one. June 14th, a horror, sideshow, vaudeville, steampunk-themed music festival mixed with rock and roll bands and talented vaudevillian entertainers inside a 2-story Hollywood prop-fixed building located at the Haunted Hollywood Sports in Southern California. I believe that is in Bellflower, for those of you familiar with the area. It's geared towards a mature audience, 21 and over. This show has an added attraction like no other. Zombie kill zones. Not only do you get to see an incredible lineup of bands, which I'll get to in just a second, but you actually can shoot zombies via paintball. It sounds like a killer fun evening. The bands we have, Psycho Charger, Unextraordinary Gentlemen, who of course we loathe, Blood Penny, again we loathe, The Rhythm Coffin, I Still Have Nightmares. So there you go. Count Smokula, a very close friend of ours, is going to be performing along with the Jimmy Psycho Experiment, and Rasputin's Marionettes will be there. Definitely an incredible night of entertainment. Again, it's 21 and over, so definitely get more information. You can look up Hollywood Sports on Facebook, and yes, indeed, it give you all that information. The other show that is coming up on the 28th, we did mention this last week, but just reminding everybody, Only Theater of Pain, the Rick Agnew, of course, original guitarist of Christian Death, his new band called Only Theater of Pain, doing songs from the classic album Only Theater of Pain in Anaslime, California at Sanctum Sanctorium. So you can check that out at facebook.com/onlytheaterofpain1334, or you can check in with Christina Death to Death on Facebook, facebook.com/CD133434. Yes, so there we go for some killer events.
Jack, I did want to mention I've been both to Hollywood Sports, and I want to give a shout out to them because they do a great job, both this event and also their haunted events that start in October or so. And then also Rick Agnew with his new project. I've seen them live, and they're just incredible. Steve and the whole band is incredible.
Absolutely.
I want to say that I love dark vaudeville. I'm very vaudevillian myself. And so if I could make that show, I would go. And I recommend anyone who loves a good show, to go and see any show that involves vaudeville.
Absolutely, it's an art that was dying, but it's making a great comeback thanks to the dark alternative scene, and I applaud us for that because it's a very entertaining and varied form of entertainment, and yeah. So.
Well, Jack, you know I am a dead vaudeville actor. I've only died 2,000 years ago or so.
Well, you know, I figured vaudeville died with you, but now it's coming back. But so are you.
I come back every week. Over and over again.
Yes, indeed.
Back.
Oh, God, there's more of me?
Well, I'm very excited about getting to the cuisine segment this evening, but just real quick, a couple album releases that are new. Mankind is Obsolete. Mobius Loop is their first album in 6 years. It is to die for. Look for a review coming very soon. But if you've heard their music before, you know what to expect, and they really pulled out all the stops. So definitely pick that up. And everybody loathes Gary Newman of Corpse, and off his new album, a track called I Am Dust, off the album Splinter, Songs from a Broken Mind. The remix has just come out by the new Number 2, and it's a very sparse, almost noir mix that is incredibly atmospheric and enhances the dark atmosphere the original possessed. So, Gary Newman fans, get it.
You know, Jack, I had a friend that years ago saw Gary Newman, and back in the 80s, a lot of people just relegated him to a one-hit wonder with his song Cars. And the gentleman told me he was just blown away by Gary's musical ability. And he just did a 2-hour show that was just incredible. So I, again, let everyone know to go see that show.
Absolutely, an incredible show, man. Either of you, Jacques or Callie, have you seen Gary live? Or Undead, rather?
I've not seen him live, but I've admired his music ever since I was a child. And not just Cars, but, you know, I mean, he had a few other really nice ones back in the day that, you know, mainstream radio didn't pick up on, but that, you know, us in the underground really enjoy.
Yeah, it's pretty
I'm
funny.
kind of in the same boat. If he comes to the West Coast, I'll try and make it to a show of his, but I've been a fan of his for quite some time.
Very cool, very cool. And you know, Cars is actually my least favorite of his songs.
The irony there.
Well, I ran into the same thing. Many of you remember the group Devo, who recently, unfortunately, lost their front guitar player, Bob Number 1. And I went to go see that show, and I was just blown away again by the amount of underground music that Devo has done. And so it just, again, as we mentioned with Callie earlier, if people are just able to open up their minds and just really enjoy whatever music and whatever culture they enjoy, you'll always learn something.
Agreed. Absolutely.
And by the way, Devo did a great job again on Whip It.
Well, speaking of whipping things, whipping eggs, whipping
that was a great
cream.
segue, wasn't it?
Bang you. Jacques, please, I'm hungry.
And
Feed
yes,
me, Jack.
we are hungry, and so since you are hungry, I shall give you yet another recipe from my ghoulish Gothic griddle. Tonight's dish is truly murderous, marvelous. It is braised St. Lawrence chicken with red currants and pizzito di Pantelleria, or however you pronounce it. It's some sort of hay wine, I've been told. Anyway, for this you shall need 2 chicken thighs.
Yeah, dude, who doesn't love 2 nice chicken thighs?
Joey.
Yes. And you shall need a clove.
Well, dude, come on. A goth wouldn't be one without one. Come on.
And you shall need a garlic, raw, crushed, a half a teaspoon of paprika, salt, pepper, extra virgin.
Extra virgins.
Olive oil. A half a cup Pasito di Pantelleria. It can be substituted with Marsala or, as I said, any similar straw wine, although I don't know how good straw would taste. Half a lemon slice. 8 fresh cherry tomatoes. 4 sun-dried tomatoes chopped coarsely. Sprigs of fresh thyme. 1/3 of a cup fresh red currants. And 8 Gaeta olives. Now you will slash the chicken skin so the innards will cook better. Rub the chicken with crushed garlic paprika and salt. Yes, salt that chicken and pepper it too. Now heat that oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But don't put the chicken in. Instead, abandon it for 15 minutes to let the realization of its fate sink in. Over medium flame in a pan of cast iron with extra virgins.
Extra virgins.
Olive oil. Cook the chicken with skin side down so the boiling oil will enter the cuts. Brown the chicken for about 10 minutes until, like St. Lawrence, it cries out, "This side is done, turn me over." Then, as the Romans did, flip to cook the other side. Pour the Pasito di Pantelleria.
Pour alcohol into the wounds.
And turn up the fire until the alcohol evaporates.
The very air will attack it.
Add the lemon slices.
Yes, lemon juice into the wounds.
Fresh tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, thyme, olives, and cranberries.
So it will look like blood.
Cook for 5 minutes together. Pour the sauce on the chicken and other ingredients while cooking. Now, like a joke I will not make, place it into the oven. Cook for 45 minutes, pouring the sauce on the chicken as it turns golden brown. Now, remove it, and to humiliate it further, present it garnished with a couple slices of lemon, fresh red currants to represent its bloodshed, and a twig of thyme.
It wished it had more time.
And devour. Exquisite.
Ah, yes, it sounds to die for.
Jack, can you send some down to my casket?
I will bring
That's
some
a
on the
ghastly
dumbwaiter.
meal. Without a ghoulish drink to go with it?
Cool point.
Give it to me. Give me a drink.
Tonight we shall concoct a truly spellbinding tale of Maleficent. In a large goblet, you're going to add an ounce of absinthe to represent her pale green face. Then slowly drip into an ounce of chilled black rum to represent her black heart and beautiful fashion. Of course, her delightfully dark dress wouldn't be complete without its purple trim. Add a half an ounce of grape schnapps. Now bring her bitterness forth by dripping in half an ounce of chilled apple schnapps. Complete her with this mischievous red grin by adding half an ounce of red rum and garnishing with a slice of apple. Now, doesn't that sound good?
Oh, you could send some to my casket right now.
Yes,
That actually sounds to die for. My goodness.
yes, in fact, I want to take it and pour it into my goblet and grab and clutch that goblet with my cold, bony fingers and drink in all the powers of hell.
Well done, sir. Well done indeed. And speaking of absinthe, which happens to be in that drink, I'm the ghoul of segues this evening, apparently.
You're doing a great job, Jack.
Oh, fang you, fang you. Flattery will get you everywhere, of course.
It
So,
got me a casket, Jack.
that it did. That it did. Jacques Danier is about to imbibe a little bit of wonderfulness. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, so just a mere hours ago, I went and I purchased at the local purchasing spirits place a lovely absinthe, which many of my friends rate very high in review, but I unfortunately have not been able to review yet, called Saint George. It is fine brandy. It's with choice herbs. Our fine absinthe vert is the result of years of patient experimentation in herbal distillation. Its complexity comes from the use of fine brandy, star anise, mint, wormwood, lemon balm, hyssop, meadowsweet, basil, fennel, tarragon, and stinging nettles. So, now that I've read that, and by the way, it's a product of the USA. It's been out for about 4 years or so now. I have poured myself a glass of it, and so I'm going to review it in the way that an absinthe review is normally done. So, pre-louche, it is a lovely olive green, I would say, a light olive, but it's a little darker than a peridot. The ideal color for an absinthe is peridot. This is more of an olive. Now I shall louche it by adding in some ice-cold water. And I louched it a bit quick for it to louche properly, so I cannot give it an accurate louchering at this moment. The louche, at this very moment, it's oily but rather thin. I'm sure if I louched it a bit more slower and better, it would be better louched. But here's to go. So the smell of it, it's a very anise smell. Overwhelming anise, I would say. It has a slight bouquet, though. A very grassy scent to it. So now I shall have a little spirit. It is all right. It has a very good taste. It is low on bitterness, although it has a little bit of a bitter aftertaste that's really nice. I'm getting much of the anise in it. It's pretty good. One thing that I'm really enjoying about this is a lot of your poor quality absinthes have a kick to it, have a bite to it, and this does not actually. This is as refreshing as a nice cool glass of water. Actually, it is very, very refreshing. And as I sit here, it's louching bare. It's still a rather thin louche, but it's very, very refreshing and light. So refreshing, light, and delicious. So I would rate it about a 7 out of 10.
That just sounds to die for, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and a very fascinating thing because I have never had any American-made absinthe. All the absinthe I have enjoyed has been from Europe, different countries around Europe, but has been from Europe. So it's very interesting to see that there is a decent absinthe here in the States.
Yeah, my favorite absinthe is a European one as well. My favorite is Jade Edouard, and if anyone ever gets a chance to give a bottle of it, give a bottle of it. It is absolutely incredible, and perhaps I will review that on another day, although I'm already telling you my review for that one is a 9.5 out of 10. So Jade Edouard is absolutely incredible. This one, it's all right. It's good. This absinthe, I could see myself, St. George, I could see myself enjoying on a lovely afternoon, just, come home and and pour myself a glass and sip it, you know, while listening to the morning news.
Well said there. Well said. Absolutely. And now I noticed, unless I missed, which I may have, but you didn't do a sugar with it, did you?
No, I did not. I normally don't. If you have a really, really good absinthe, like Jade Edouard, for instance, using sugar, well, that just takes away from the flavor of it, because if an absinthe is an absolute masterpiece and is made to perfection, all you need is the ice cold water. The sugar is not needed. You only need sugar on your absinthes that are very bitter, which due to the wormswood, many absinthes are bitter. So you do need sugar with many of them. But Jade Edouard, for instance, you don't need sugar. It is just perfect. And so the way that I know where an absinthe is good or not, so the way that I test it is I test it without sugar, because that tells me how bitter it is. And if you add in 1 sugar or 2 or 3, how are you going to know for your review how bitter it is? How are you going to know the real taste of absinthe? And so, no, I don't do my reviews with sugar. I want to know the real flavor. And if an absinthe is good enough, I won't need sugar. This one, I don't need sugar. This has very, very little. The bitterness is that little kick at the very end, which you want, you need. That tells you that it's good. And so this is good. That aspect of it, I can say. That actually, yeah, I'm going to update it. I'm going to take it from a 7.5 to an 8 then. Because, yeah, it's good. It is a good enough absinthe that I can drink it with just water. And that right there is a sign of a good absinthe, in my opinion.
I would have to agree with that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying that it's like more olive, and I was noticing that it was more olive than like the Green Fairy, the European type. So when you added that water, it kind of looks like a cloudy look, like you get that cloudy look to it, kind of like you were saying that you could drink it like water, almost.
Well, a good absinthe, like Jade Edouard's a great absinthe. A good or a great absinthe is a lovely peridot. That is a pale green. And then whenever you add in the water, your best absinthes, they end up looking like milk, and you can't even see through them. This one does not look like milk. This one looks, it's hard to describe, but it's just cloudy, but it's not milk.
Like lemonade.
Yeah, and I'm sure if I loosed it better, it might do milk. I'm going to drink some more after the show tonight, and I'm going to loose it better, I promise. But I can still see through this to an extent, and I shouldn't be able to see through it at all. It should look like oil. It should look like olive oil mixed with milk whenever you're done loosing it. And before loose, it should look like a lovely peridot, a almost clear pale green. It's a darker color pre-loose, and after loose, it's like a lemonade mixed in with a little bit of milk and with a little bit of oil as well. And so it's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect, but it's very, very light, and it's not going to kick you in the face, and that's always good, because there's many, many fake absinthes out there which don't loose at all and are fluorescent green, and they'll kick you in the face, and that's not what absinthe is supposed to do. So this is a good absinthe, but it's not a great one, but I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I would call this more of a sit down and enjoy an afternoon drink absinthe, as opposed to Jade Edouard, which for me, Jade Edouard is have a lovely dinner with the one you love, and then have an incredible night that is too graphic to be said on radio.
And that does occur. That does occur with the wonderful Green Fairy.
It definitely does.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Of course, a few weeks ago, since we're on the subject of absinthe, the band Aeon Sable, a very killer German goth band, sent me a bottle of Taboo, and on the Darkest Radio Undead on Sundays, I think it was about a month ago, I tried it, and that one, just wanted to give a shout out, is also very good. It does get much more of a milkier texture when the water is there, and it becomes very opaque. And the flavor on that one is very anise. It has a bit of a bite, but not so much that you would need sugar to mask it. So yes, highly recommended. Out of a 10, I would probably give it a solid 9.
Nice.
So.
You know what? I'm going to have to buy you some J. Edward, Jack, and you're going to have to experience that. I love J. Edward so much. I believe you that you're rating the one absinthe a 9, but by the time you drink your J. Edward, that absinthe's going to be like a 7.5 or an 8, I promise you.
Well, of course, I still have an opening for a 10, so maybe that'll fill that spot.
Yes.
Now, absinthe. Prior, we had the Maleficent drink featuring absinthe. Has anybody here seen the movie yet? Anybody at all?
Jack, I'm raising my bony, cold hand because
Yes, anybody
me.
at all? Anybody seen the
Jack,
film?
I'm raising my coney, Jack, you're getting me verklempt.
Oh, Dad, did you have something to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, really? You're now paying attention to me?
I'm too poor to pay attention.
Yes, Jack. I raised myself and saw this movie. Would you like my opinion on that, Jack?
I would, because I might be a little too excited. I'm very excited for this film, and I haven't seen it yet, so I am dying to hear your opinion.
Well, my opinion was this. Many people out there, very story purist, were very, very afraid, as I was, when I watched the previews, and you saw beautiful Angelina Jolie portray Maleficent, or however you wish. It's kind of like ketchup. It's either catsup or ketchup, so I look at it both ways. You could speak her name either way, but in the age of remakes and sequels, the type of audience that we have today, they're kind of jaded, I think, to prequels or whatever, or sequels. So now they had a hard thing to come up against, I think. But Maleficent really had its work cut out for themselves. And when the previews emerged, I was very, very intrigued because they seemed to seamlessly put together the story of Sleeping Beauty with the backstory of Maleficent. And so the preview left me wanting more to see what they were going to do with this story. And then what they really did from the bottom of my cold, dead heart was create a movie that if you go in with an open mind, it will really entertain you. And what I really wanted to look at, since I'm 2,000 years old and part of the goth scene, is what would our audience be looking for in such a movie? And I looked at it in these ways. The tone of the movie is very dark, which I think our audiences will really love, because it began from a very somber tone and it continued with that somber tone to the very end, and it showed her transformation from a good fairy into a tumultuous villain. And then there's the classic battle of good versus evil. The wonderful classic battle of monster versus raging crowd in Frankenstein is what I really thought of. As you think about the old Universal pictures, and I thought back to the Frankenstein movie, where the very end, where the raging crowd was going up against him, you almost had a heart for the monster, that you felt sorry for it. And I won't go into spoilers, but Maleficent will entertain you if you let it, with the ending of the story. And then one other thing is Angelina Jolie. She handled this role with amazing professionalism. Whether you agree with her or not on how she portrayed Maleficent, she did a great job, and she put her own spin on the character, which I think is good. So again, I say bring it with an open mind, and you'll be entertained. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is Disney versus the purists, because if we look at Facebook, which I now have a Facebook, by the way, but when I look on Facebook when I'm in my mortal world, you have the two different camps. You have the people that are the purist for the Sleeping Beauty, then you have the people that with an open mind that want to just see what will happen. But I also was reminded that this story itself was a grim fairy tale way years ago, and so I really looked into it, and the two different interpretations are different when you look at grim fairy tale versus Disney and now. So I really think it's a very entertaining movie to go see.
I'm on the kind of the same path as Darkest is. I haven't had a chance to see it, but from your review, it's making me kind of think of Wicked, like the musical Wicked, the prequel to The Wizard of Oz, where you kind of get that feeling that the evil person isn't as bad as they always are.
And I agree with you, because I did see Wicked recently, and it just blew me away. And then without giving the spoilers for those that haven't seen it, it makes you really want to revisit The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I've seen Wicked many, many times, and it's okay, it's enjoyable, but personally for me, it's not dark enough. I like my stories to be darker than that. But something that you said is that this film starts dark and ends dark. And so I'm really, really excited for Maleficent because I love dark stories. I love tragedies. And, you know, anytime that you're dealing with someone who starts off good and something bad happens to them that turns them into a wicked person, like in Wicked, that is something that I really, really enjoy. And I do enjoy Wicked. It's just the music for Wicked is a bit too light for me. I wish it was darker. And I don't think the Maleficent film is a musical, is it?
No.
No.
You know, and so I don't have to worry about light songs. But even if it was a musical, I get from the previews that if it was, it would have been dark enough for my taste.
Well, what I also enjoyed was it went from you had a bit of good there, but then it really also, in a way, without going into spoilers, it retells Sleeping Beauty, but it keeps the story intact, but telling it with a different way. It's like taking a different way on the freeway. You know you're going there, but you don't know how you're going to get there yet, but you know where you're going to arrive.
It's like viewing the same story or the same event through another person's eyes.
And I want to make a comment about that because I, of course, loathe the Disney Sleeping Beauty. The visual aspect of it alone is just incredible. We talked about that last week. And in that film, Maleficent is the embodiment of evil. I mean, she is just evil. But, again, in the original story, which it sounds like they follow a lot more, she wasn't an evil entity to begin with. She was just the 13th fairy, not invited to the christening, because 13 is, of course, unlucky for everybody outside of us. But you know, so she wasn't, in the original story, evil. She was just kind of pissed that she didn't get invited to the party. And I wish more people would take an open mind when going to see things and stop comparing everything and remaking things and all this stuff. It's its own story, and I'm very excited to see how they tell it. So,
and to really reiterate what Jack said, is that when you tell yourself to go in with an open mind, you're able to follow the director and follow the story they want to take, and it's like riding a roller coaster and then finally just deciding that you're going to put your hands up and just scream your head off and enjoy the ride.
Well, I'm ready for the ride. And we may or may not have this. Do we have a disembodied voice that also saw this film? Jacques, do you know if we have that in the vault?
Yes, we have a review of this film from the great, the wonderful, the Holy of Unholies, Archpope Doc.
And here's where that will be, but shh. Absolutely another killer review. I myself am now even more so excited to see it. I don't think I'm putting the bar too high now that I've heard these.
Jack, will you let me out of the coffin so I can see it again?
Maybe next week. Maybe next Tuesday.
Oh, all right.
I think Disney would be happy if you bought her a ticket and went.
I'm already dead broke as it is.
I hope that Disney can make a movie showing what Ursula was like before she was evil, and then maybe I'd feel some compassion for her as a character.
Well, I would
That
love.
actually would be fun.
Yeah, but you know what? They better make her, just perfect. They better not make her thinner than she needs to be. A lovely, beautiful, sexy, round, voluptuous, Rubenesque woman. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That was one of the characteristics about her personality that I really applauded, and I thought they were very brave for making that choice, and I applaud it. Yes.
I loathe her too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, I guess it's time for me to open my trap again here. Last week we had talked about traveling. Well, actually, Jacques talked about traveling last week. So now the ball, or the severed head, is now in my court.
It's rolling over to you, Jack.
It is, and every time the eyes meet mine.
Yes, last week we took a meeting to Treffen in Leipzig, and now this week we shall be going to the home of witchcraft, Salem, Massachusetts. Tell us, Salem, Jack.
Indeed, indeed. Of course, everybody in the dark alternative scene, as well as hopefully everybody in America, knows about Salem, Massachusetts, and the witch trials and the hangings and all that horrible stuff that went on there. Well, since then, if you don't know, Salem has almost become a mecca for those into the witchcraft side of things or the pagan side of things.
Oh, Jack, are you saying that we're doing 2 meccas in 2 weeks? We had Treffen, that was a mecca. Now we have a second mecca. So
oh my goodness, you're right.
This must be the Medina.
Salem's the Wisconsin Dells for goths.
There you go. There you go, indeed. But it is a town that celebrates not only witchcraft, paganism, Halloween. It's a town that revels in its dark history. And for those of us that happen to loathe the dark and feel at home in the dark, this is definitely a place to visit. It's been a few years since I've been there, but I will be heading there again this summer. And everything there has a fun spin on it, like the ice cream shop is actually an ice cream shop. So a lot of fun things like that. A killer museum. There's a pirate museum. There's a horror legends wax museum. There's also the, of course, Salem Witch Museum, which is rather disturbing when they recreate some of the trial, and you can feel that energy of again, with the Frankenstein and the mob mentality. It's actually a rather frightening experience because it happens, but the town itself, incredibly. And the town itself is very small, very quaint, wonderful history. For those of us here on the West Coast, where we pave over our history, over there, they keep it around for a while. And it also holds the House of the Seven Gables, and that is a very interesting and kind of sinister building, unlike the book of the same name. It has a very odd and different vibe to it. So if you happen to go, I highly recommend a tour of it, which may not fall on a lot of dark alternative lists, but I definitely recommend it. As well, again, with the museums, they offer a slew of ghost tours there as well. And finally, October in Salem is the equivalent of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people descend on Salem throughout the month of October with bands and shows and haunted attractions. And if you like a lot of people, and you like that party atmosphere, I would recommend going in October. I, of course, am more of a solitary ghoul and would rather do it at my leisure. So I go the other times of the year. But if you haven't been to Salem, I think it is definitely something you should experience at least once in your life, not only for the history and dark period in American history, which is, of course, terrible, but also for the Halloween and the reveling in the darkness. So highly recommended to go to Salem, Massachusetts.
Yes, I have a friend named Victoria who she married her husband Vince in a cemetery in Salem, Massachusetts on October 26th, a few years ago. And it was a very, very beautiful wedding. She had a lovely black wedding dress, which I made for her and which I designed myself. It was a very beautiful dress and a lovely wedding. And so if you're two young Gothic lovers and you wish to get married, Salem, Massachusetts might be something to look into as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Ded, you weren't able to join me on that trip, but have you been there in the past?
I believe I did in the past somewhere, but you did say of the Gothic horror and all those museums, and it really is a scary situation to be in. But I loathe those kind of things.
As we all do, of course, of course.
I think it would be definitely there again. We talked about the marriage of culture and everything like that. And Salem, Massachusetts, really just embodies all of that. Really,
I would agree. I would agree. And Callie, have you been there?
No, I have not, but I am looking forward to putting that on my list of places to go. House of Seven Gables is on there, the Salem Witch Museum, and there's the TV show Salem Out, which might make those normal people go there, but we can all go there and just enjoy it as our little group.
I did have a question. Are we normal?
Well, yes, of course.
Normal is in
We're
the
corpses, if that's normal.
Oh, very good. I was worried about that I was not normal, but I feel better now. Thank you very much.
Well, you're not normal, but the rest of us are.
Well, I'm not normal. I try my best to not be a norm. You know, people tell me, you're weird. I go, thank you. I do try.
Well, absolutely.
Last time I checked, I was dead. So, cold, dead heart.
But how can you be dead? You're the life of the party.
He does have you there, Dad.
It is a dead man's party, isn't it? That was oh.
Well punned. Well punned, my friend.
Awesome.
So, Callie, we just talked to you briefly about Salem and how you're not have been there, but we'd like to know more about you since you have now joined the Mourning Show, and we'd like to hear a little bit about who you are and what you do. I'll pass the skull over to Jacques, and you let's let's go ahead and get into this, okay, boils and ghouls? All right, now let's go ahead and put on our gloves and grab our scalpels, for it's time for a dissection.
Ooh, a dissection.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, where we slice into someone and see what makes them tick. The person on the cutting board, or cutting table, as it were, tonight is none other than our very own Callie. Are you ready to be dissected?
A slice above the rest.
Sure.
All right. So, Kelly, our listeners may not know, but of course, you co-run, along with me and a few other people, the Gothic Cuisine group, yes?
Yes.
And you also, from my understanding, run, as we mentioned earlier in the show, or not run, but at least participate heavily in a Gothic and Dark Alternative Parents group.
I'm the administrator of that group, but I don't have any children as of yet, but I do quite enjoy talking with other parents, so, get some idea of how to raise my children in the subculture.
Well, yes, whenever the time arrives. Quite understandable. And you post quite a bit of recipes in the Gothic Cuisine group. Could you tell us a bit about if you love cooking, what you love about it, some of your favorite foods, how you like to Gothicize dishes, and or whatnot?
Sure. I have liked cooking because of my grandmother. She passed down all her pie recipes to me, and I like to kind of incorporate Victorian and Gothic recipes into my cooking. And today I dug up a YouTube video that showed about how Shackleton and the people who went to Antarctica, how a lot of food came about back then in the Victorian age, and the preservation techniques. If you might know that ketchup came from back then, and Perrier water. And I also like to kind of make holiday dishes dark, like almost purple sweet potato pie, and the chicken recipe that Jock mentioned earlier, and adding
Yes.
absinthe to my food.
Yes, the chicken recipe was thanks to Polly. That was from her. She posted a braised chicken, and then she Gothicized it, and I Gothicized it way more by turning it into St. Lawrence, who, for those who don't know about St. Lawrence, he was basically barbecued to death, and so I thought that would be fun. And thank you for sharing the initial braised chicken recipe. Is there anything else about your life, your history, that you feel our listeners should know? Stuff that makes you who you are today?
Well, one thing that makes me what I am today is that I don't necessarily subscribe to a label, and that kind of comes from my mom kind of viewing the goth culture as, when I was a teenager, as an attention-seeking culture of people that look like Gene Simmons of Kiss. And this past winter, she came to my house, and I'm on Weight Watchers, so I'm losing a lot of weight, and we were looking at getting some clothes for me, and I showed her a couple of websites. I think one of them was, can't think of it off the top of my head, Pyramid Collection, and some Elder Goth fashion, and she's like, you know, I'm so sorry for judging you, but I think I might be goth too. So it's just kind of like, you know, that it's the acceptance that we were talking about earlier with during the Asperger story, that, you know, you can be raised by people that don't even know they're part of the subculture until you enlighten them that, no, we aren't attention seekers, we're just people that, you know, like history, like the macabre, and like the past. It's not about, you know, painting your face and looking creepy.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, I mean, although, as our listeners know from last week, I was raised in a Gothic family, but I've had many friends who they were not, and yet their parents eventually came to realize that, hey, you know, I like a lot of this too, and that, yeah, it's, as you said, it's about being who we are and liking what we like.
Exactly. And one of the, on this document, it was like talking about the favorite music, and I'm very into Stevie and The Cure, and The Cure was introduced to me by a librarian, and Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, and Clan of Zymox, and a lot of my classical training, I play guitar and piano, was largely introduced to me by my parents. So.
Yes, you know, there was a Gothic film made about Stevie Nicks a few years back. The name is slipping me at the moment, but I normally remember it. Have you seen and do you remember the name, or do either of you guys, Jack or Dad?
I haven't.
Oh.
I have not, but I think it's interesting now that you see now a legend in music in a different light now. You know, I think of or have thought of maybe Fleetwood Mac as contemporary adult classics or relegated now to a station that your parents would listen to. But I think hopefully didn't. Actually, I got a laugh out of that one. But now it amazes me because now I can see why Fleetwood Mac, who again is touring in December, keeps coming back and can just do greatest hits tours all as many as they can because they're still relevant. And I think this is one reason why is surprisingly they have a lot of roots in goth culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
many people would argue otherwise, but still.
Though that's one of the reasons here at Darkest Radio and on the Darkest Hours and stuff, we tend to use the term dark alternative as opposed to specific goth or specific industrial, because outside of our group, unfortunately, there's a lot of negative connotations to it, which, Callie, you just kind of mentioned. The negative stigma of goth and Gene Simmons lookalikes. So one of the reasons we try to use that term to hopefully open up the world to others that might really be at home here, but because of that negative connotation are kind of afraid to look into it, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, as I was talking to Jack before I joined the show last week, there's my friend that does Cemetery Confessions, and he had a YouTube video talking about if goth is a subculture, and I think dark and alternative kind of sums it up even to a more level where there is kind of less, what would you call it, like less controversy over arguing about what terms apply. So like that sort of thing where you can kind of listen to how different music applies to how you feel at the time.
Yeah, and you know what? I love Stevie Nicks as well.
And I think the movie you were mentioning may have been Gypsy 83, where they
yes,
were
it was
talking about
Gypsy 83, yes.
Because one of my friends was saying the main character there, she's like, she's not goth, she just wears dark clothes and likes Stevie. And I was like, it depends on the person that's, talking about it.
Exactly.
Well, you know what I can say? So Gypsy A3 was made somewhere around the years I was a teenager, and I clearly remember those years. It was made in like 2000, 2001, and those years are very burned into my memory, as our teenage years sometimes is with our lives. And both Gypsy and her friend in that film, they are so goth. There's no way to deny that they are goth. And the things that they talk about, it's things that you hear every goth talk about. If not now, then at least back then, they talk about Poppy Z. Bright, and they talk about different bands, and they talk about all sorts of things. It's so goth. And the soundtrack to that film, the soundtrack film is pure goth. It has Diva Destruction and a whole bunch of other really great goth bands. The soundtrack to that film is incredible. If you love Stevie Nicks music and you love gothic music, then you need to listen to that soundtrack, because half of the songs on that soundtrack are actual underground goth bands that they're doing Stevie Nicks covers, and they're absolutely brilliant.
Well, that's definitely something I would like to check out. I remember years ago, I'm not sure, 90s sometime, they released a Gothic Industrial tribute to Madonna, which I thought was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. So, of course, I bought it instantly. And I loathe it. I think it's incredible. KMFDM doing Material Girl, come on. But
it's you like Madonna, just kind of like, if they release a movie about what Ursula was before The Little Mermaid, I'll watch it and probably not be afraid of her anymore.
See, exactly.
And I also want to say, Jack, one of your products that you have is the Gothy Horror Picture Show, and I really began listening to that album because I'm a fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I have to say, groups like Batlord, I know I keep requesting that song on Darkest Radio, but I love the way that some of those bands just redid those songs and really put more life into them.
I agree. The bands they really went above and beyond on that collection, and I am really honored to have been a part of it because yeah, Batlord and Alice and everybody involved with the project is really fun, and I like to see the different takes, like the Madonna thing, and now I really want to hear these Stevie Nicks versions, but done in a more dark alternative style. I really like seeing that reinterpretation of the material.
So it just goes to show to me that music in all of our world, whether you're a goth or dark or alternative or whatever, you just never know where all these music genres will cross.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can relate to that because, like, for instance, I am a huge fan of Prince, and there was also a electro goth industrial tribute to Prince put out by, I think it was Cleopatra Records or something, and it was absolutely incredible.
Absolutely, it's hard to find. It may not be as hard anymore with digital. It might be more readily available, but back in the day I remember it was hard to find, but it is a killer one.
Back in the day you had actually record shops and also had tape emporiums when you actually had to rewind the tape. Remember that, Jack? I do.
I remember the pencil trick. Anybody remember the pencil trick on the tape there?
Yes, to rewind.
Yeah.
And I think our Batman fans will remember that Joker has a very good pencil trick in Dark Knight.
And of course, also our Batman fans will remember that the soundtrack to the Tim Burton film was by Prince.
And that was actually my first introduction into his music, and I was hooked from that soundtrack on.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is, of course, Prince has his hands in several different musical acts, you know, the Bangles and Sheena Easton, and you just think about all of our, like you said, our headliners, and a lot of them are also very interested and very involved in the background of other artists too.
And in no scene is it even more true than in the dark alternative scene, especially with all the remixes and it's just a whole community, and you know, a lot of the artists work behind the stage on many others, whether it be Skinny Puppy and Ministry working together, or whether it be the new number 2 working with Gary Newman, you know.
And I did also want to say, Jack, talking about the love and the acceptance of the goth culture, of course, many of the fans know that I made my first Motel appearance at Release the Bats in Long Beach, and I just was very, very taken by the acceptance, and because I haven't been around this scene for 2,000 years, Jack, and so it was awesome to see Dave Batts and all the other bands and just feel the love of the acceptance of this culture.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Callie, do you have a favorite spot, since we mentioned Release the Bats? Do you have a favorite, maybe a club or maybe just a place that you like to go that's very close to the dark side of you?
I'm originally from Chicago, and I like Exit in Chicago. But other than that, out here, it's kind of like, you know, there's a very strong pagan community out here, and it's kind of like, if you do want to do something, you Facebook the people and go, oh, we're going to meet at a warehouse, or we're going to meet at somebody's house. But next Tuesday, our group of friends is getting together to host a Gothic tea party. So.
And yeah, you just said out here. Where is out here for you? Where do you visit?
Okay, out here is Missoula, Montana. And as I said, I'm originally from Chicago, and most of what I do is either, like, you know, go to my friends' art shows and drink a bunch of tea, or organize Gothic tea parties, or go to independent movie theaters. And most of my friends are authors or witches, so just kind of meet with them and see where things go, but there really isn't like as much of a club scene unless we go to like Spokane or Seattle or go back to my hometown.
I know a while ago, again, I suppose it was in the 90s, late 90s, I know Washington had a huge scene on Capitol Hill in the Seattle area. Is that still there, or is that gone away?
I believe it still is. Like they have one of those. They still have that one club. I forget its name, but that you pretty much get in if you have a friend that has like a special card, and then like you get in if your friend invites you.
Huh.
Like if you're friends with Jillian Venters, I think you could get in if she invites you there.
How interesting. Very interesting.
So you have to be a card-carrying goth, huh?
True.
I am a casket-carrying goth. Does that help?
That must be very lucky.
It's hell to lug that big wooden thing around. Oh, that means something else, doesn't it?
But that's what your friends at the morning show are for. We have to carry you because you're the royalty.
That's right. Friends at the morgue. You know, we're all cold on the slab.
Going to
We could always like burn you and put you inside of one of those cups and then carry you around with us.
You know, we might have to cremate him because he's on the royalty. You know what? That's going to give him a big skull.
Oh, trust me, if you watch Darkest Hours, Joey would like to cremate me.
Yes, he would. Yes, indeed. I don't know where he went though. He popped in there during the cuisine bit, but
Oh, he probably went into his
he got
closet.
Yeah, he probably. Hey, where'd that absinthe I reviewed went? Joey!
I knew he would take that. That douche.
Dude, it's so good.
Joey, come out of the closet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that day myself. Actually, he talks about the ladies a little too much, if you know what I mean. So, what else is going on in the world of dark alternative entertainment? I know this week I myself have been very busy getting some new things together for not only Darkest Radio, but the Darkest Hours. So my week was spent very work-wise. How about you, ghouls?
Me, I've been busy. I'm back in college. I'm going to school. And so, you know, for me, it's just been a rush of homework and a mess. Tired school. I wish I was going to that Goth University that Kelly mentioned earlier. I would love to go there if it was, you know, real. I'd love a real Goth University. That was an idea that my friends and I had when we were in high school. Was it'd be really funny if one day we could actually open a Gothic university, not one with Gothic architecture like, I don't know, you know, Oxford or anything like that, but an actual one that teaches Gothic courses and stuff
Well,
like that.
there is one in England, but I would have to exit the show to like send you the link. Since it's in my Safari on my phone, but there is one.
Talk about next week.
Yes, I will talk to you about there actually being a brick and mortar building that you can get a degree in Gothic literature, Gothic music.
Oh, yes, let's go on a Gothic safari.
Yes, indeed. No, that would be very cool. A Hogwarts for goths. There you go.
A Gothic safari where there's only bats and ravens and jaguars or panthers.
And panthers, too.
And spiders in a spider house. Got to have a spider house.
Speaking
because
of
they're
that,
hard
Jack,
to see from the tram. Spiders are generally.
And you know, spiders, they need a home because do a human spiders are becoming homeless. Or wait a minute, maybe they're just overtaking our homes. I don't know.
Roaches need a home.
Actually, I think roaches need motels. We can give them a very grand roach motel. The Grand Roach Motel.
you go in, but you don't come out.
3 or 4 stories worth of death.
Yes, instead of the Hotel California, Hotel Roach.
I like where this is going. I do indeed.
Well, it's going right where I am in the ground.
Well, dig it back out. Are you just going to leave it there?
Dig it, man.
Hey, you're with the worms, you know.
Oh, yes. Brewing down. I'm always wondering on a Gothic safari, how would you carry a casket?
We
Well,
would
you got
put it
wo-
in the Range Rover, or instead of the Range Rover, we'd have it in our beautiful, equipped hearse that can go into Africa or something.
Oh, I can only be pictured I'd be stuck on a camel. Up, down. Oh, that's another story, isn't it?
We need Joey to talk about that.
No, no, we
Oh,
don't.
don't mention the douche.
Oh,
Well, if
dear,
we
oh,
do
dear.
the travel segment next week, maybe somebody can come back with a Gothic thing to do in Africa, because I
Oh.
haven't found it yet.
The hell you're making me think of. What if we did a segment on Darkest Hours about a road trip?
Well, I think
Well,
that.
then it would be Gypsy 83 or whatever it's called, because they had a Gothic road trip in that film. So there you go.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go look on the old BooTube or the Netflix and see if it's there to view. Maybe it's hiding out there.
It's on
then we
it's
can
on the
review it.
BooTube.
Oh, it is on the BooTube.
We
Yes.
can review it after you see it.
Or we can reboo it.
Ha 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 ha! Boo. Yes, indeed. Well, okay, we've got next week's show going well. Africa travel. We've got Gypsy. What was it? 80,
3 or something. Yes.
83. And
Then we can watch the show Salem, and we can watch the TV show Salem, and then talk about that to go along with your trip this week.
I like
So
it.
there you go, folks. That is what to expect next week, amongst more things. You've been listening to The Mourning Show. Now we're going to go cry in a corner.
As I say every week, yeah, whatever.
And I'll go and cry in some soup and turn blue.
And I just hope Joey stays in the closet.
Well, he can stay there until Gay Pride Month is over.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Coming up in the future, Joey at Gay Pride.
He
And
comes
this
out
is
of the
the Mourning
closet.
Show. Signing off.
The broom closet.